As we kickstart this edition of EVCon India, I, on behalf of Blue Circle, would like to take a few moments to thank all of our esteemed partners for putting their shoulders to the event. A special thanks to our main sponsors, Log9 Materials and Hero Electric, knowledge partner Alvarez and Marcel for creating the white paper, investment partner Indian Angel Network for co-authoring the Startup Dev program, accelerator partner Huddle, and real estate partner GLL. It's been an absolute pleasure working with their teams and getting their valuable support. Also, a big shout out to all my team members for working all the hours to pull this off. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, distinguished audience, for joining us, most of whom were CEOs, CXOs, and senior leaders. Many among them are our members and are repeat visitors to our webinars. This is very encouraging and motivates us to provide even higher levels of dialogue. For those of you who are new with us today, India-based startup Blue Circle is the world's first sector-specific opportunity and knowledge exchange networking app for business leaders. It is somewhat like the sector-specific LinkedIn for senior leaders, a space to have meaningful conversations, connect with over 15,000 plus rapidly growing community of like-minded leaders from India and across the globe, exchange high-quality curated content, and access business opportunities across 20 sectors, such as e-mobility, energy, real estate, healthcare, logistics, and many more. Those among you who are interested, please do join us. Now, coming back to today's discussion, it is a privilege and a pleasure to welcome today's keynote speaker, who is handpicked because of the think input and the rich experience he brings in. Without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Lupi, CEO and founder of Infinite Mobility. It's a Norwegian company that manufactures lightweight solar electric vehicles for urban mobility and last mile delivery. For the past 15 years, Love has had various roles in supply chain management from leading Norwegian countries in the industrial manufacturing sectors such as automotive, marine industry, oil drilling, etc. Now, the discussion which will revolve around today's topic is the efficiency of 2- and 3-wheeler light electric vehicles in urban mobility and last mile delivery. Now, I request Love to please begin the session.
Yes, hi everyone. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, so I can maybe start with the thanks, Gautam, for the presentation and for the introduction. I will just share my screen right away. Okay, so infinite mobility, we call it Here Come the Sun, which, as was previously explained, we design and manufacture lightweight solar electric vehicle. By talking about lightweight, is we reduce the weight from 1.5 ton average electric car to 400 kilograms. And once we reduce the weight by 75%, we reduce the energy consumption by 75%. So we're a startup company. We started in July 2020, so now 2 years. We've been growing really fast with support from Innovation Norway. We've been winning awards in Hamburg, in Plug and Play, at the Web Summit, and we're also a member of the Alliance for Solar Mobility. And maybe the best way to start is to talk about the problem facing the EV industry in general. The first big challenge is the decarbonization of mobility. We know that countries around the globe will phase out the use of fossil fuel. So right now there's a huge growth in the EV production, but the growth in the infrastructure is not going on the same rate. So the grid support and all this. So eventually there will be a market gap. There's a fast growth in the electric vehicles, but the growth in the infrastructure for charging is not growing on the same level. So this will create an opportunity for us. And it's a big problem for facing all the developing countries globally. The second problem with the mobility sector is the user experience. Today's micromobility offerings is not very safe, not budget friendly if you go into talking about the battery and all that. And it's also not gender friendly when we talk about the mobility. So you have a lot of scooters, mopeds, which is not safe, mostly used by male, not female. And with the weather, it has a lot of user experiences problem. And then the third problem is the operational convenience, where frequency of charging and the battery range is a major challenge for urban users, because even if you have a battery, swap battery, you still have to charge, and this creates a problem. So our solution is using the solar energy, which is the cheapest, the one of the cleanest, and the most abundant source of energy on Earth. So we have a 3-product range. The first one is a cargo bike, and the second is a tuk-tuk, and the third, in the future, we will also go for a 4-wheeler. But we're starting first with the, initially we will start with the cargo bike, which is easier to enter into the market, and there's a huge demand for this. It will be used by pedal, so we have to have a pedal, that's the regulation. We see that the biggest market for this is Europe. And of course, it will have electric motor, and it will have a solar panels on the roof and on the side of the vehicle. And then we also have a tuk-tuk where it will have a solar panel on the roof and also on the side of the vehicle if needed. Depends on the country. If it's a crowded country like India, I guess we will probably not include the solar panel on the side. And then in the future, we will have a 4-wheeler as well. So the solution is, yes, we can talk about solar technology, but all the solar panels right now in the market, it's flat. And if we have a flat solar on the vehicles, the vehicle will not look so nice. It will look very old-fashioned, but we're going for the futuristic design. So what we have, and it's a patentable technology, we're working on the patent at the moment as we speak. It's a 3D shaped solar panels, which works with the 3 layers. And what we have is a scalable model to patent the process of production on mass production to simplify the long lead times in the production. And then, of course, if we look at the payback time, it's only 1 year if you put solar panel or if you don't put solar panels. So the extra 450 euro for the solar panel, you will get your money back from operational expenses within 12 months. So the first vehicle which we gonna enter the market with, it's called Lupi, and Lupi is a small city in Oslo. It will weigh 240 kilograms. The solar boost will give it 40 to 50 kilometers per day. And we will also have a swap battery system, because in a country like in Norway, where sometime in winter we don't have much sun, we can then use a swap battery system. So once we include the swap battery system with 3 kilowatts, we will have an extra range of 100 kilometers in total. The speed is 25 kilometers per hour, and that's regulated by the governments. And of course, with the pedal, the user can go even to 40 or 50 kilometers. The price for this one, it's 10,000 euros or $10,000. And this is heavy duty vehicle. I know the price could be a little bit too expensive for the Indian market, but this is business to business and it's commercial. So once they have it, there's no maintenance. We have very good suspension, best in class motors, all the safety requirements, and the user experience, and also the info entertainment system. So yeah, so this is the first vehicle. The second vehicle where we think, so this vehicle, I think it will be most sold in Europe because there's a lot of last mile delivery. And there's a huge need for this, for food delivery, for carrier, postage. Yeah. But meet Oslo. Oslo is the tuk-tuk that we have. And we believe our biggest market, based on our research, will be in India and Southeast Asia in general. But India is the biggest market. As you can see, it has a futuristic design. We're taking a complete facelift of the traditional tuk-tuk, and we're modernizing it with a very smart and nice design. So this tuk-tuk will weigh 400 kilograms. It's a three-wheeler and a three-passenger, a driver in the front and two passengers at the back. The solar will give it a boost of 30 to 40 kilometers per day. So just from the solar panel, you will get 30 to 40 kilometers per day. Of course, in urban cities, I mean, most in European cities, average drivers drive between 27 kilometers per day because they just go to work and back home. But also in India and some countries like Bangladesh, there's a lot of traffic. And so while the people are driving, while the drivers are driving stuck in traffic, the vehicle is actually charging. But we have also included a swap battery system where it can give the vehicle the full range including the solar, up between 250 to 280 kilometers on a fully charged battery. So the battery swap system is 10 kilowatt, and the maximum speed of this vehicle is 45 kilometers per hour. So this vehicle will not go on the highway. It's only for urban transport. And this is regulated by governments globally. And the price for this vehicle is also, we kept it very cheap, 10,000 euro. And we hopefully, by the way, that's the market entry price. Once we go into mass production, we aim to reduce this price down to 6,000 euro. But right now we're going for 10,000 in the first 2 years. And then once we speed up, then we go on mass production, then we will go down to 6,000 euro. That's our target. We have already, in terms of progress, we have already a workshop called Infinite Garage where we made our prototypes. We built it completely from scratch with focus on efficiency and high quality and durability. So we built it first from the mold. We made the molds ourselves. We made it, by the way, from fiberglass because it's the first vehicle. And we have tested some solar panels. This is not, as you can see here, we tested some off-the-shelf solar panels. But once we go into the start producing, then we will have integrated solar panel with 3D shaped. It will look like a glass eventually. We have already a strategic partnership memorandum of understanding with a company called Fontana Group, where Fontana is it's the leading actually body part manufacturer in Europe and one of the biggest in the world. They the leading supplier or the exclusive supplier for Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, all the top brands. So we have a partnership with them where they will own 10% of equity of our company, and they will incubate us at the entry level to start our production. Yeah, and also use their experiences in the automotive industry with the design, with everything. Yeah, so the unique selling point of our vehicle, it's a solar driven. It gives up to 12,000 kilometer free range per year. And then it has a futuristic and premium design. And by the way, electric vehicle is in the early phase, but also if we look at the solar, we're not the first one in the market. There is a lot of solar vehicles have already started in the market, and they are very brave. We have the biggest one, and one of the first is Lightyear from the Netherlands. It's a four-wheel vehicle, very efficient, but it has a different market segment. It's for the four-wheel, for a family car. And then we have also Sono Motors from Germany. They also have a four-wheel vehicle, a bit compact, smaller than Lightyear. It's already going very fast in terms of market entry. They're already about to enter the market within 12 months. And then we have also an American company called Aptera, 3 wheels, but 2 wheels in the front and 1 wheel at the back. And it seats 2 passengers in the front and 1 passenger at the back. So it's more like a small family vehicle. And then we have ourselves, Infinite Mobility, where we have the tuk-tuk, which is just a standard tuk-tuk, a driver in the front and the passengers at the back. These vehicles are more for family private use. We're more going for the commercial use, for last mile delivery, and also for taxi and fleet management. And we also work on a very cheap price. So we have segment where we're going on lower prices. So yeah. We've been, of course, featured in many different press globally since we started, and we've been winning a lot of awards. And in conclusion, yeah, so our vehicle or our startup has patentable 3D solar technology. We have a great product design, a best-in-class team, and we have solid partnership. We've already partnership with the Fontana Group. We also starting a dialogue with the Shell, DB Schenker, and Kyocera, where we have a letter of intent and letter of interest from these companies, and potential collaboration with them. And then we have a scalable business model, out-of-the-box solution, where we will have a small factories, micro factories, to allow companies, startups, to actually build the vehicles. So we're not going to go into an old-fashioned model where we have one central production system and then we will just do distribution. But actually what we're doing is we will have out-of-the-box solution that the final assembly will be done in the regions. In that way, we create local jobs, because we're also not looking at only environmental impact, but also social impact for us is very important, where we create local jobs, we source locally, we use recyclable material, and all these kind of things. Yeah, so that's us in, let's say, 15 minutes.
Thank you, Love. So I'll just quickly get onto the questions, a few questions they've asked. The first question is, how does renewable energy usage increase efficiencies of EVs? You mentioned that it's 30 to 40 kilometers, but if you could give us a little more input into this, would be great.
Yes, I mean, the vehicle will be parked I mean, most vehicles, except for taxis, they pretty much park 90% of the time. So, of course, the prices now, the economic of scale for mass production in the solar technology, the price of energy produced by solar has been decreasing on a year-on-year basis. So that's one thing. The other thing is, so the solar technology is going down in price. Efficiency, on the other hand, is going up in the solar technology. The same thing with the battery system. The price of the batteries has been going down massively year-on-year. And also the efficiency of the battery is also lower, is much cheaper now. Another very important aspect is the material we use, or the use of material, not just us, in general. So the design is becoming more, the structure of the vehicle, the chassis is becoming more smart. Instead of using a lot of metal, we're using just the frames where it's needed, where there's impact and crash. And then also the material we use, then it's like lighter materials, reusable and all this, and then it becomes cheaper. And then once you reduce the weight, you reduce the energy consumption. So that's a very, and of course, the efficiency of the motor. We will have in-wheel motor for the vehicles. They will reduce the energy consumption by 30%, less noise, less vibration. So all these have a huge impact put together in a way. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is, how should batteries be maintained for increasing efficiencies of EVs?
Yes, how to maintain the batteries. Of course, batteries is it's the way they actually being consumed. If someone is they own the batteries, they're not using a swap battery system. Of course, we know that to have the longest lifetime of the battery is to not to fully charge it and not to have it on, let's say, not to go on 100% charge, because this will lower the lifetime of the battery, but also not to go on almost 10% of the battery, because this will also have a negative impact on the lifetime of the battery. So it's always best to keep the battery between 70 to 80, 90% fully charged all the time. And of course, there's a lot of startups right now working on recycling and reusing the batteries, not just because it's only the cells that need to be replaced, so not the whole package of the battery. So there's a lot of increasing the upcycling of the batteries.
Interesting. Thank you. Move on to the next one. How do your lightweight electric vehicles powered by solar photovoltaic cells help in increasing efficiency for last mile delivery and urban mobility sectors?
Yes, I would say two measure or three aspects, three major aspects. One is the weight of the vehicle. It's very light, so the lighter the vehicle, the less consumption of energy. Even if it's coming from electricity, you're still using less energy. So then you reduce your operating cost. The second is the solar technology, of course. Then you have 12,000 kilometers of free range just from the solar, and you only get payback time on this is only 12 months. And then third is the electric motor, in-wheel motor. So we remove a shaft, which is heavy. And also using one motor with a shaft with a differential on the wheels. You have a lot of energy loss. So once we have a very efficient motor, then we reduce the energy consumption, and eventually it reduces the total cost of ownership for end users.
Thank you. Thank you. Quickly move on to the next one. This is from the PV cost. So India, to share with you, India imports its PVs from China. So with imported PVs cost and imported PVs cost in India to be accounted for, how will it give TCO for owners?
How it will give what was the last part?
How will it give total cost of ownership for owners?
Yeah, once you import the solar panel from China, how it will reduce. I mean, the reduction of total cost of ownership is when you look at the investment you put to have a solar panel, which is 450 euro, and look at the free range you get from the battery, 12,000 kilometers per year. Then you know that, okay, if I'm going to use either electricity or diesel or petrol, whatever petrol you use, you will consume 450 euro on petrol within 12 months. So that's how the payback comes in this kind of terms. But of course, if the solar panels actually become cheaper eventually from China and more efficient, more energy output, then actually payback could be even much shorter than 12 months. It could be 6 months. So now, actually, when we did this calculation, we did it before this energy crisis with high prices of energy. So actually, when the energy price has doubled, actually the payback now eventually for us is actually 6 months. But we're still using the conservative 12 months payback. And I know in some countries, depending on the prices, energy prices, in some countries it's a lot cheaper, a lot faster payback time.
Okay, thank you. So the next one is, will there be, it's an interesting one, will there be a different charging controller for solar and traditional charging?
Different charging
Controller.
In dollar?
No, will there be a different charging controller for solar?
Controller.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, the battery management system and the controller inverters, they need to be modified. So it's not like a standard off the shelf. It needs to be customized to be able to work with the different voltages. And so, yes, the controller will be slightly different.
Sure. Thank you. Dharmesh, I hope the same, I hope your question has been answered. I'll move on to the next one. You mentioned India is a primary target market for your three-wheeler. Have you done any user testing, and what are the key findings that were incorporated into design and target cost?
Yes, we did. Of course, we did a lot of market survey, product market fit analysis and research. We have been active heavily on Facebook, doing advertisement and looking at the subscribers and the interest. We found a lot of interest for the tuk-tuk in India when we did the market research. Most interest right now, there's a lot of interest to buy it, to distribute it, also to manufacture it. We know the entry price is still too high for India. I know competition, you can get it from China for 1,500 euro on a diesel one, or 2,000 on electric, but still the quality will not be the same. So you can buy a cheap electric tuk-tuk that can only last 12 months or 2 years maximum, and then you have to buy a new one. So our vehicles, we're looking on high quality, European standard, Scandinavian, futuristic design. But we saw that there's a lot of interest on the design of the vehicle. Yeah, so there is a huge market, and yeah, eventually we have to start small and then grow and reduce our prices, and then go on mass production, yeah, and distribution as well.
Understood. Looking forward to seeing you in India then.
Yeah, thank you.
So the next question is, what are the true range of last mile delivery vehicles? Because as per the calculation, the range should not be more than 90 kilometers.
Yes. Of course, it all depends on the country. So in Europe, for the cargo bike, the maximum they go on this cargo bike for last mile delivery is 37 kilometer, the maximum. So we have actually, if they buy this vehicle, they don't even have to charge ever. They don't even need a battery. In winter in Europe, yes, they might need a battery. In Norway, if there's no sunrise or something. So for the tuk-tuk, yes, with the traffic jam and all this, it's 90 kilometers. And that's why we have a swap battery system. So this swap battery system now, it depends on the region. Even if you are in India, in some regions, you have infrastructure to swap the battery. So you don't own the battery, you just rent the battery. But we also have the option that you can charge the battery within your house, which is a bit cheaper than charging at a station. Yeah, so we're working with many different options. If a country has infrastructure for swap battery for the grid, or even if they can take it at home and all
that. Okay. I'll move on to the next question. This person has asked two questions. This is Deepak. The first one is, this proposition seems to be very expensive in comparison with existing EV and ICE three-wheeler available in India. How will you compete with them with respect to purchase price? That's the first part. The second one is, three-wheeler available in India carries more than 3 passengers at any point in time. In your product, there's no scope for carrying more than 2 passengers. How do you tackle this?
Okay, yes. So I can, because I remember now the second question, I will go on to the second question, which is, how do we tackle the second problem with more than 2 passengers at the back? We know this, of course. Now this is the tuk-tuk for the European, and also it could also go into, this design can also go into India. But what we know that in India, they like to have it open. So we have the space. They can actually, the seat at the back will be bench seat, so it will be flat. So of course, it's up to the driver to put maybe 4 passengers at the back. It has the space. It's 120 1.2 meter wide on the tuk-tuk. So it has a space, more space than any other tuk-tuks. They can also, potentially they can also add another seat at the back, a bench seat where they can sit, passengers can sit, let's say 4 here and 4 here, for example, or 3 and 3. So you can carry 6 passengers eventually. So this is possible because, and that's what we talked about. Final assembly will be done locally to create local jobs, and then they can customize it based on customer request, end users. So it will be very flexible. You will have some tuk-tuks without windows and without side at the back. So it will be just, it will only look like this modern tuk-tuk, but without the side. So this is also, that's the intention. The first question, how do we compete at the market with the purchasing price in India? Of course, we will eventually go on 6,000, but once we enter the market on 10,000, there's always a niche market that will look for quality and luxury. And so there is this market, even if it's 1%, and we're not going at the market entry level, we're not going on mass sales. Just in case we have some quality issues at the beginning, we need to recall, instead of recalling 10,000 vehicles, we can only recall 500 or 1,000 vehicles. So we're not trying to compete with anyone when we enter the market. But of course, eventually we will compete with quality and total cost of ownership. So then you have a high quality suspension, seats, chassis, and motors. So you don't have to do any maintenance. So then they eventually realize that the capex, they don't have to do any investment on maintenance, but also operational wise, it's much, much cheaper. But of course, I know that most Indian, they look on short term, like drivers. They only want to see what's the price I will pay today. I don't care about 10 years. So of course, we will sell, when we begin, we will sell to B2B. We're not going into the B2C customers, end users. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Deepak, I hope the answer has also been shared with you. I'll go on to the last one. We see magnesium sheets and magnesium castings used in a big way, especially in China. What is the case with Infinite? Your answer will help many Indian EV manufacturers to look at magnesium.
Magnesium in the battery. Yes, I know magnesium is, of course, I'm not the technical guy in the magnesium, but I know magnesium is lighter in weight and it's cheaper to produce. Of course, there is a lot of technologies coming up. So magnesium is one of them, and it's been one of the longest discussion. But I know Tesla is coming with a different technology for the battery. They still have to have, they have already had the proof of concept, but they need still to commercialize it and make it feasible and look at the raw material to produce it. So yeah, so this is something that we have to wait and see. I can't say much about the magnesium. I'm not in this field of yeah. But
Sure.
of course, if they can, of course, commercialize it and scale it up, it will be very competitive to lithium-ion batteries because it's lighter and it's cheaper.
Understood. So I'm just going to ask one last question. The question is, how much it would cost if it is manufactured in India?
How much it will cost? It will cost this vehicle, if you, I mean, the manufacturing, eventually we're looking at micro factories. So the production, we will buy everything as much as we can from India or from Thailand when we distribute in Thailand or in India or any country. So it will eventually cost the same price. So this is the price that we are going for. It's only the only reason we have high price at the entry is because low volume, and then we have a lot of fixed cost and labor and all this. So that's what makes us sell it a little bit higher at the entry level, but the cost will be will still be the same, because we're looking on micro factories, local jobs, source locally as much as we can. Only the things we can't source, like if we buy the electric motor from, let's say, Bosch, for example, Bosch have distribution in India, in Pakistan, in Thailand. So we will buy from Bosch in India. And then the chassis will come from India. The raw materials, everything, it's only the engineering package will come from us. So the cost will be the same.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Love. It was such an insightful and engaging session, and a privilege to hear you. And also thank you to the leaders in the audience for joining us and for staying till the end, and for always asking and sharing excellent questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. See you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.